Or something very much like them, built from your blood in contact with Vesper dust. We watched the soil surface bulge in one spot where a tunnel ended. A few moments later, a thicker form broke through, a larger version of the tiny things, this one long enough to bridge the width of my little dish. It flexed twice, then burrowed down again. I logged it as another interaction. Tariq, standing in the doorway, breathed carefully as if his lungs might hear us and volunteer class from me. What do I get as a consolation prize? You get more scans. Everyone does. Now, we spent the rest of the day turning bodies into I imaged lungs, guts, skin, anything in between I took sweat, saliva, hair, every fluid I could get short of drilling into those the anomaly. In Tariq, pocket after pocket of new tissue clung to his lungs. Miguel, thin channels ran alongside his main veins and arteries, a ghost system. Glandular tissue along his back had shifted. Under stimulation, his sweat produced small plates of dense material that flaked off like scales. A few of those plates grew pale fuzz in contact with waste stored in one of our trash containers. By evening, a rough diagram took shape on my workstation. Plants, scavenger mats, burrowing larvae. Everything that had sprouted or crawled or grown around us fit somewhere on that sketch, each tied back to a particular crewman. I stared at it until my eyes blurred. We are not infected at random, I told Ross later, when we finally sat down across from each other at the table. The others hovered nearby, pretending to busy themselves with food or maintenance. We are being assigned roles. Explain. Tariq's lungs produce structures that become fast-growing plants. They orient to water and anchor soil. Miguel's blood builds mobile things that can move nutrients and maybe burrow drainage channels. Jiro's skin flakes feed decomposer mats. The rest of us have smaller changes. Glands, membranes, bits that make it easier for these things to take hold. I pushed the sketch toward him. It is construction, an ecosystem built on human scaffolding. He studied the page. You are telling me the planet is using us as seed stock? Yes, we step down. We bleed, we sweat, we bleed, and Vesper starts building itself. They have the rest of the soil. We just needed raw material to be That is the wrong question. Purpose is philosophy. I want purpose to talk to a preacher. I am telling you what it does, not why. We let that pass. What does it mean? It means leaving this world might explore something we can't see. We already carry these children. Spores in lungs, larvae in blood, whatever they are building in their tissues. If we take them to new stations, this thing is not triggering a probe. Water, heat, no reaction. It only woke up when we stepped down. The probe did not have immune systems, hormones, mucous membranes, all the lovely messy things that make us a walking buffet, I replied. We are compatible. The probe was not. Ross drummed fingers on the table once, twice. We report this. We request immediate pickup and full quarantine in orbit. We keep all material here locked down. We go up and figure out how to cut this out of ourselves before it goes any further. You are missing the point, I told him. This is not a pathogen we can scrape away. It is a process that uses us as part of its design. If we leave before it finishes whatever it is building, it will still be in that unfinished stage. Hungry, aggressive, looking for more hosts. If we let it complete down here. I hesitated, feeling the ground shift under my own argument. We might end up with one infected world instead of many. You want us to stay, he said slowly, on purpose, while our bodies turn into those. He gestured toward the sample shelf, where vials of sprouting tissue and wriggling larvae lined up like an accusation. I want to avoid another wave of colonists landing on a world that will digest them, I answered. And I want to make sure you do not carry this thing off Vesper. Right now, I will strip the surface of the Miguel's chair filled. You are I am saying there may not be a cure. And even if there is, we do not know how long it will take to find. And every hour we have to design its sentences. We need to think that was the moment we really changed. Before, it had been nothing versus an unknown environment. Now it was the cruel versus the consequences of the illogical. Ross stood. Decision stated. I request pictures. The evacuate team as soon as it was we had to bear on this. I am not abandoning my men on the surface of an experiment. You evacuate, I corrected, and you risk turning every station, every ship, every world we touch into another Vesper. You are not thinking big enough. He looked down at me, eyes flat. My scope is the people presently under my command. Do your job, Doctor. Keep them alive long enough to get off this rock. I will handle the rest. The conversation did not go further. We knew each other too well for theatrics. Afterward, we broke apart to our tasks, each replaying a different version of that brief argument in his head. Outside, the ring of growth thickened. Ross sent the first real emergency report that evening, a compressed burst to the transport in orbit, and then onward to corporate. He did not ask me to review it. I saw enough of the draft to know he focused on the physical events. Unexpected bioreactivity, emergent life from human tissue, potential systemic risk, request for quarantine and immediate medical extraction. He did not mention my reluctance to leave. Fine. That part could stay ours for the moment. Mission time blurred up. Days, if you can call them that. We worked, scanned, and tried not to wash our own bodies. The growth was inward and out like once. Inward a few stubborn shoots found seams in the habitat. And worked pale roots along them, tracing the edges. Outward, a carpet of low plant forms followed the paths we had walked, as if our footprints had become inside the house. At first it was just more frequent maintenance. Miguel cracking open housing, shaking out fine dust that clung to every fold of the filter. Then that dust changed. One afternoon I passed by the open filter unit and froze. The filter rag sagged under a sheet of pale fuzz, thick as fine stalks rose off that backing, each bearing a tiny closed capsule, like seams floating off the windows. Did you wipe anything from outside? No, that is just the routine. We have been burned in the same way. He frowned. It was clean this morning. The whole filter out and circulated through the bag. A fine dusty capsule shook loose inside, bouncing against the water. That is it. We switched to full loop. No more pulling unfiltered Vesper air inside. He opened his mouth to protect, closing the system with more heat, more load on the scrubber, more water. He shut and saw our expression. Fine, he muttered. We live on our own terms. Then we treated each of this thing. No sugar. When I examined the filter growth under the shell later, the base layer had the same properties as the Giro's altered skin. Decomposer mats, grown from his flakes and fed by our own indoor waste. The more I looked, the more it was the plants to anchor soil and secure water. Burrowers to move and churn, from Miguel. Mats to break down dead matter and trapdoors, from Giro. Other men carried small tools, extra gland groups, modified membranes, subtle changes to make their sweat a better nutrient, their breath a better carrier. The diagram in my workstation gained lines and arrows. The messiness of real biology condensed into a crude table that made my stomach tingle. Vesper was not throwing random mutations at us. It was slotting us in. The first open break between Ross and me came a few days later. We had just finished another brutal round of scans. Tariq's new rampage had grown large enough that he felt me now. Constant pressure on his chest, like an invisible hand. Ross coughed occasionally too. Dry rasp proclaimed. The transport followed us. We gathered in the common room to have a break. The voice from Orbit came through the speaker, flattened by compression. A cloud of professional tone the frontier bravado of nuclear level. They acknowledged unexpected bioreactivity, repeated phases, full quarantine protocol, and temporary surface isolation several times. And then, buried in the middle of the message, came the part that mattered. Orbital conditions were unstable. Fuel margins after our landing were becoming narrower. They could not take off, pick us up, and break safely home with current reserves. They were working on a resupply trajectory. Estimated time to safe extraction,